This happened a few months ago. I'm Clara, 32, and I've always loved the ocean. I went to a remote island on a research trip to study coral reefs. The island was wild. I stayed in a little cabin near the shore. Most nights, it felt so quiet. I almost felt alone. On the third night, I noticed a light flickering in the cove. It was strange because the island was dark and isolated, with no nearby village. I grabbed my flashlight and walked over to check it out. As I got closer, the noise of the waves faded. A chill ran down my spine. When I reached the cove, the light was gone. I looked around, and it was empty. My heart raced. I felt like something was watching me, so I hurried back to the cabin. Days went by, and things became weirder. My research gear had been moved. I was sure I put it all in the same place. One afternoon, I was near the reef collecting samples when I heard whispers beneath the water. I looked around, but I didn't see anyone. The beach was empty, yet those voices kept coming. My heart sped up, but I chose to ignore it. I thought it was just my mind playing tricks. I almost left, but my curiosity kept me there. Then I met some locals. They seemed off, and one man stopped me to warn me. He said, "Don't go too far into the woods. The forest isn't what it seems." His eyes darted around. I felt a chill wash over me. I thanked him, but I couldn't forget the uneasy feeling that followed me. After that, I started seeing things. Shadows flickered at the edges of my vision. One evening, I stepped outside. I saw a figure in the distance. It was sudden. I froze, hardly able to breathe. I squinted, thinking it was my imagination. But just like that, it vanished. I felt cold and so alone, like the island was hiding a terrible secret. Now I'm back home, but I can't stop thinking about those days. I replay the whispers, the figure, and the man's warning in my head. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe it was all in my imagination. But I feel like the island is still there, holding tight to its secrets. Sometimes, I find myself gazing at the ocean, hoping it'll tell me more. When I do this, I can still hear those whispers softly in my mind. One evening, I spotted something in the reflection of the waves. My breath caught in my throat. I'm not sure if I really want to know what it is. A few days later, I was back at work, trying to focus on my research. My desk was filled with papers, but my mind drifted back to the island. The whispers haunted me. My colleagues were chatting, their voices a blur in the background. I barely processed what they said. Then I noticed something odd. An email notification popped up on my screen. It was from an anonymous source, titled, "The Island's Truth." My heart raced. Maybe someone else had experienced something strange there. I clicked to open it. The message was short but chilling. "You heard the whispers. They know you are curious. Stay away." I felt a shiver run through me. Who sent this? Did they know what I saw? I searched for clues within the message, but the sender was just a blank name. After work, I went for a long run by the ocean. I hoped it would clear my mind, but instead, I felt more restless. As I jogged, I glanced down at the shoreline. The waves seemed to whisper again, echoing what I had heard before. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the email in my head. Was I overreacting? Maybe it was just a prank. I felt silly for letting it bother me. Then I had a dream. I was back on the island, standing at the edge of the cove. The moonlight illuminated the water. I heard the whispers clearer now. They were calling my name. I felt compelled to follow, stepping closer to the waves. Then I saw the figure again, just as I had on the island. It was closer this time, and it seemed to reach out to me. I jolted awake, drenched in sweat. My heart pounded against my ribs. I grabbed my phone and checked the time. It was almost dawn. I knew I would not be able to shake this feeling of dread. The next day, I pulled out my research materials and began to dig deeper into the local legends surrounding the island. Most of the stories were about lost sailors and ghostly figures, but one caught my attention. It told of a hidden cave, deep in the woods, where it was said the whispers originated. It was too tempting. I couldn't resist. I felt it was my only chance to understand everything. Right then, I made up my mind to return to the island, to face whatever was waiting for me. As I booked my flight, a sense of urgency settled over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something crucial was about to happen. Just then, my phone buzzed. I looked down, and my heart dropped. Another email. I hesitated, unsure of what I would read this time. Then I opened it. Don't go back. You want to come back. My breathing quickened. I had to go. But part of me wondered if I was stepping into a trap. I gripped my phone, not knowing what to make of it. The day of my flight arrived, and I felt a strange mix of excitement and dread as I boarded the plane. I stared out the window as the landscape changed beneath us, the city fading into a patchwork of green and blue. I tried to convince myself that confronting the whispers would help me understand. But the email haunted me. Would I really not come back? When we touched down, the air felt different. A cool breeze cut through the warmth, stirring memories of the island. As I took my first steps on the dock, the familiar fear settled over me. Shadows danced under the trees, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I rented a small boat to take me toward the cove where I first heard the whispers. The water was calm, but a sense of foreboding hung in the air. I navigated around the rocky cliffs and felt the wind shift. Then I saw the opening to the cave featured in my research. It loomed ahead, dark and inviting. I anchored the boat and stepped onto the shore, my heart racing. With each step toward the cave, the whispers intensified, echoing off the cave walls. You shouldn't be here, they seemed to say. I hesitated at the entrance, doubt creeping in. But curiosity pushed me forward. Inside, the cave was damp and cold. I took a deep breath and continued deeper into the darkness. Suddenly, I tripped over something hard on the ground. I knelt to examine it. It was a worn-out piece of fabric, torn and faded, like something you'd see in an old photograph. My heart dropped as I picked it up, part of a sailor's uniform. Before I could process what I had found, the air around me thickened. The whispers grew louder, swirling around me. I felt an electrifying tug in my chest as if the air itself was alive. Then, just as suddenly, everything went still. The silence was deafening. It felt wrong. I turned to leave, but the shadows shifted, and the figure from my dreams emerged from the darkness. It was spectral, shifting between reality and mist. Panic gripped me as I stumbled backward. Leave, it seemed to command, its voice not just in my head but echoing around the cave. Suddenly, the boat I had come in began to drift away from the shore. I darted outside, my pulse racing. But when I looked up, a thick fog rolled in, enveloping the shoreline. I had no way back. In that moment of panic, the whispers returned, filling the air. They grew louder, drowning my thoughts. You should not have come. They will come for you. When I saw it, a faint light flickering within the cave, growing brighter, as if beckoning me to follow. I stood frozen, torn between fleeing back into the cave and running to the boat. I was trapped between two forces, each trying to claim me. I had to choose, and fast. My heart raced as the flickering light in the cave pulled me closer, its glow warm compared to the chilling darkness surrounding me. The whispers faded momentarily, leaving just a heavy silence that made my skin prickle. I could feel the cold fog creeping in behind me, swallowing the shoreline whole. Time was slipping away. I took a hesitant step toward the light, curiosity battling against the fear constricting my throat. The more I focused on the light, the more compelling it became. I wanted answers. I needed to know what lay ahead, but a part of me warned that the cave held dangers I could not see. With every cautious step deeper into the cave, the whispers morphed into distinct words. Find him. You must find him. Panic surged through me. Find who? My mind raced with possibilities, terrifying ones. I had escaped the figurative claws of the mysterious figure, but it felt like they had only retreated. The cave suddenly widened into a cavern, the light illuminating its walls. On them were markings, lines, and symbols that looked eerily familiar. I was drawn closer, my breath hitching. They resembled the patterns I had seen in the old Sailor's journal I had found in my research. "This can't be real," I murmured, my voice echoing back at me. Then I noticed something in the center of the cavern, a stone altar, weathered and ancient. Atop it lay a dagger, its blade shimmering faintly in the light. It looked sinister, as if thirsty for blood. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, yet I felt an inevitable draw. I could almost hear the whispers urging me. "Take it," they seemed to hum, "enticing and dangerous." I hesitated, feeling as if I were standing at a threshold. I remembered the warnings in the journal about the island's history, how the sailors once practiced dark rituals here. But curiosity overwhelmed me. I stepped closer, leery yet determined. As I stretched out my hand to grasp the dagger, the light flickered violently. The shadows deepened, and suddenly, the cave filled with the same figure I had seen earlier. It hovered beside the altar, its eyes glowing red. "Stop!" it commanded, the voice resonating through the chamber, as if shaking the very ground beneath me. A wave of dread crashed over me. "You don't understand what you're about to unleash." I froze, hands still reaching for the dagger. "Unleash what?" My voice trembled. It swept closer, the air growing electric, and I could almost feel its breath. "You'll join them if you take it. They yearn for your spirit. Leave now." Panic surged through me as I stumbled back, mind racing. Then everything went dark. The flickering light extinguished, plunging me into blackness. I turned, desperate for any sign of my exit, but the ground beneath me felt unstable, shifting as if it were alive. "Get out!" the figure's voice echoed, now deeper, more desperate. I couldn't tell if it was directing me to flee or something else entirely. The world spun as I lost my footing. Just like that, I fell, hit the ground, and the cavern shook. That's when I realized I had chosen to stay, and I had awakened something deep within the island. The dark, hungry presence of the unknown was closer than ever, and whatever it wanted from me was about to be unleashed. The darkness was suffocating, wrapping around me like a heavy quilt. My heart pounded as I pushed myself off the ground, my hands trembling from the fall. I blinked, trying to get my bearings, but shadows danced around me, taunting and elusive. The echo of the figure's voice still reverberated in my ears. "Leave now!" I forced myself to breathe. Panic would be my end here. I focused on the rough surface of the cave floor beneath my palms and pulled myself up. Instead of retreat, I felt a stubborn determination. I could not let fear dictate my actions. I had come too far, not just physically, but emotionally. I needed answers. As my eyes adjusted, I began to see vague shapes around me. The altar loomed, and I caught sight of the dagger still lying there, glinting in the faint remnants of light. It called to me again, and I took a cautious step forward. That's when I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. I froze. There, against the far wall of the cavern, was a faint glow, a different light, pulsating weakly and casting strange shadows. It was not the same warm glow that had pulled me in before. This was colder, almost electric. My instincts screamed at me that it was connected to whatever I had awakened. With my heart pounding, I moved toward it, drawn by an invisible thread. As I approached, I realized it was a carving, a mural of sorts, shimmering with an energy I couldn't explain. The figures depicted looked both desperate and fearful, their eyes wide in terror. They were bound by chains that glimmered with an otherworldly light. I gasped as I recognized one of the figures. It was unsettlingly familiar, as if it had been pulled from the depths of my own memory. "Who are you?" I whispered, expecting no answer, but the glow intensified, pulsating in rhythm with my heartbeat. Then I heard it, a voice woven with anguish. "Help us." I stumbled back, dread curling in my stomach. "Help you? How?" The energy of the mural flared, and for a brief moment, I felt a wave of despair wash over me, anguish so profound it threatened to crush me. My legs felt weak, and I realized I was not alone. The figure from before materialized next to the mural, its red eyes piercing through the gloom. "You cannot help them," it warned, this time a hint of urgency in its tone. "They are lost. Their fate was sealed long ago, and now they reach for you." Why? I spat out, angry now. What do you want from me? To be the savior, it replied, its voice a low growl, or to be consumed like the rest. Shivers raced down my spine. What did it mean? I tried to shove back my doubt and fear. I wouldn't sacrifice myself for something I don't understand. The figure's gaze softened slightly. You must choose. The dagger is your key, and it will unlock the truth or your doom. Then, with a flicker, the cave shuddered around me. I clutched the wall for balance. The whispers returned, louder and more insistent. Find him. You must find him. I shook my head, trying to clear it. I needed to escape this cave, this suffocating tension. But where would I go? The echoes of the figures in the mural taunted me, urging me deeper into confusion. I felt the weight of choices pressing down, and I realized that whatever I would decide next could forever change my fate. That's when I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, heavy and deliberate. Someone or something was approaching. I held my breath, straining to listen. The footsteps grew louder, echoing off the cave walls. My heart raced. I had to move. If whatever was coming was anything like the figure I had just faced, I wasn't prepared for another confrontation. I quickly glanced around, looking for a place to hide. There was a dark crevice in the wall nearby, and without a second thought, I darted into it, pressing my back against the cold stone. I barely had time to steady my breathing before the footsteps stopped. A figure appeared, silhouetted against the faint glow of the mural. It was tall and imposing, moving with the kind of confidence that made my skin crawl. All I could see were the shadows playing across its face, but I felt those piercing eyes scrutinizing the cave. What brings you here? The figure asked, its voice smooth but filled with a strange menace. It stepped closer to the altar, pausing to study the dagger. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding in my throat. Should I reveal myself? But the way it studied the dagger, as though it might grasp its true power, made me hesitate. Show yourself, it commanded, and I flinched at the forcefulness of its words. I shifted slightly, trying to stay quiet, but a small rock slipped from my grip and clattered to the ground. The figure whipped around, its attention snapping to my hiding spot. Coward, it sneered. Hiding like a rat. You think the darkness will protect you? My teeth clenched. I wasn't a coward. I was scared, yes, but it didn't mean I was weak. I took a deep breath and stepped out of the shadows, trying to summon every ounce of courage I had left. I'm not afraid of you, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. What do you want? The figure grinned, and the shadows deepened around it, masking its features. What do I want? I want what belongs to me, it said, nodding toward the altar. That dagger is the key. But it seems you've stumbled into something far above your understanding. What do you mean belongs to you? The figure took a step closer, and I felt a chill run through me. You have no idea what you're meddling with. Those souls you saw in the mural? They are bound here because of the dagger, my dagger. You aren't the first to come seeking answers, nor will you be the last. I pressed my back against the wall again, fear surging like a wave. What is going to happen to me? I can show you, it said, voice low and inviting. But it comes with a cost. Are you willing to pay? Before I could respond, a sudden gust of wind swept through the cave, blowing dust into my eyes. I stumbled back, caught off guard, and when I looked again, the figure was gone. I blinked, heart racing, and took a moment to regain my composure. But then I saw the mural's glow pulsed again, brighter than before. I stepped forward, compelled by a force I couldn't explain. That's when I noticed a new figure emerging from the shadows on the mural, one not of torment, but of hope. Find him, it whispered urgently, and I felt my stomach drop. Who was this new figure? Why were they so different? There was too much at stake, and answers felt just out of reach. All I knew was that the clock was ticking, and someone would come looking for me soon. I had to decide: face the figure, seek the dagger, or flee from this nightmare before I was pulled under completely. The glow from the mural flickered like a heartbeat, pulling me closer. It was mesmerizing, but my instincts screamed for me to turn back. I had to remember what was at stake: my safety, my sanity. The figure that had been in the cave was nowhere to be seen, but I could still feel its presence, lurking just outside the edges of my awareness. I took a hesitant step toward the mural, my curiosity battling with the fear that gripped me. I reached out, fingers brushing against the surface. The moment my skin made contact, a rush of images flooded my mind, visions of the souls trapped within the mural, twisting in despair. I pulled my hand back, gasping. "What is happening?" I muttered, breathing heavily. The colors in the mural swirled together, shadows dancing with light. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. I had to get out of here. Then, a low rumble echoed through the cave, shaking the ground beneath me. I glanced back toward the entrance, heart racing. This was no longer about curiosity. It had turned into a race for survival. The sound grew louder, like the growl of a great beast awakening. I turned my attention back to the mural, searching for answers. The figure that had whispered for me to find him, I felt a distant connection. Perhaps he held the key to understanding all of this. I forced myself to focus. "Where are you?" I whispered into the void, almost praying for an answer. As if in response, the mural shimmered, and the pleading face of the new figure emerged again. This time, the eyes seemed alive, filled with intention. "You must trust me," it urged, and there was a connection, a pull deep within me. "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Follow the path," it directed, and before I had time to think, the ground began to shift. A crack appeared, splitting the stone beneath my feet. I stumbled back, unable to comprehend what was happening. Then, the figure's voice became clearer, like wind whispering through the leaves. "You are meant for greater things. The dagger is only part of your journey. But time is short." The weight of its words pressed down on me. I looked toward the growing chasm at my feet. Should I stay and risk the figure returning, or did the path below hold something better? A noise echoed behind me, sending a shiver down my spine. I glanced back and saw a shadow creeping towards me, the outline unmistakable. I didn't have time to think. Without hesitating, I leapt into the crack that had formed in the ground. I could feel the cool air rushing past me as I plummeted into darkness. The fall seemed endless as panic surged within me. The image of the mural faded, and the whispers left me. Then everything went dark. I hit the ground with a thud, the impact knocking the breath out of me. Panic flooded my senses as I struggled to catch my breath. The darkness enveloped me, a thick blanket that muted any sounds. I scrambled to my feet, my heart racing, trying to make sense of where I was. As my eyes adjusted, I noticed faint outlines ahead. Shapes began to sharpen against the darkness. I stood on a rocky ledge that jutted over a vast dark sea, waves crashing violently below. I leaned against the stone wall, dizzy from the fall and the sudden shift in atmosphere. The air smelled of salt, and something else, something foul. "Hello?" I called out, the sound echoing in the emptiness. My voice felt weak against the chaotic roar of the ocean. I stepped cautiously along the edge of the cliff, peering into the shadows. "Is anyone there?" Silence answered me. I felt a chill run down my spine. Whatever had been behind me in the cave was now distant, yet I sensed I wasn't alone. The figure from the mural had mentioned a path, but it wasn't clear what direction I should take. I squinted into the darkness, my breath hitching at the uncertainty. Then, a flicker of light caught my attention. It was faint, pulsating like the glow from the mural. I moved towards it, desperate for something, anything that could ground me in this strange place. As I got closer, I realized that it was coming from a small, weathered lantern, hanging on a rickety wooden post. I picked it up, the metal cold against my palm. I flicked the switch and the lantern sputtered to life, casting a warm illumination around me. The light revealed a path carved into the rock, winding down toward the water. But it also illuminated something else, symbols etched into the ground, an ancient language I didn't recognize. What was this place? Without thinking, I followed the path, my feet moving almost on their own. As I stepped on the symbols, a rush of cold air passed through me, and I shivered. The air was thick, and with each step, it felt like something was watching me from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. That's when I saw it, another figure standing at the edge of the water. Its form was indistinct, a silhouette against the moonlit water. A flash of memory surged through me, the pleading face from the mural. "Wait!" I shouted, hoping to catch its attention. But instead of responding, the figure turned and vanished into the mist rising from the sea. I raced forward, the lantern swinging wildly in my grip. What was I chasing? Then I remembered the dagger. The figure had spoken of it. Was that what I needed to find? But where? Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed from the water, splitting the night. The ground trembled beneath my feet, and I stumbled back, fear surging within me. I had to move. Whatever was awakening in the depths of the sea would not wait for me to figure everything out. I turned back to the path, trying to ignore the chaos behind me, urgency driving my every movement. The ground shook again, and I quickened my pace, the lantern swinging wildly at my side. The path twisted and turned, each corner shrouded in shadow, as if hiding secrets too dark to reveal. My heart raced. The adrenaline surged through my veins, urging me to push forward despite the familiar voice of fear whispering doubt in my ear. What if I stumbled upon something worse? What if the figure had lured me to my doom? A wave crashed violently below, and I jumped, my foot slipping on the wet rocks. I caught myself, breathing heavily, looking over my shoulder. There was nothing, just the swirling mist and the churning sea, a black abyss that seemed to beckon me closer. Focusing again on the path, I caught sight of something glimmering at my feet. I knelt down, the lantern light revealing a small metal object half buried in the dirt. I brushed away the sand and debris, and a sense of recognition washed over me. It was a dagger, intricately designed, the hilt engraved with the same symbols I had seen on the ground. "This has to be it," I murmured, my fingers curling around the cool metal. As I stood up, I felt a sudden gust of wind whipping around me, chilling to the bone. Instinctively, I gripped the lantern tighter, every hair on my body standing on end. The calm of the previous moments vanished, replaced by an unsettling tension. Dim shapes began to emerge from the fog, restless and wraith-like. I squinted, trying to discern what they were. Shadows danced around me, flickering in and out of sight, whispering secrets I couldn't understand. Panic gripped me, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. I couldn't let fear dictate my actions. Then I heard it, a low growl, reverberating from the darkness. I turned, eyes wide, scanning the area. The figure from before? Was it coming back? The only answer I got was an echoing silence, broken only by the crashing waves that felt increasingly furious. I needed to get back to the edge of the water, to confront whatever awaited me. With the dagger in hand, I took a step forward, then another, moving deeper into the shadows. The air grew heavier, and I could have sworn I felt a presence close, brushing against my skin, almost tangible. Suddenly, out of the mist, another figure emerged. It was not the one I had seen before. This one was cloaked, the fabric swirling like smoke around its legs. Its face was obscured, but I could feel its gaze penetrating me, reading into my soul. It reached out a skeletal finger, pointing toward the sea. "Why are you here?" A voice rasped, chilling and ancient. The words danced through the air, sending shivers down my spine. I was frozen, the dagger trembling in my grip. I'm looking for something," I stammered. "I don't understand any of this." The figure tilted its head, and the air around me thickened with dread. "Then you must be prepared for the truth, child. Seek and you shall find." Before I could respond, the figure melted back into the mist, leaving me alone again with the sounds of the crashing waves. There was no more time to hesitate. I needed to confront whatever truth awaited me beneath the surface before it found me first. The dagger felt heavy in my grasp as I stared out at the turbulent sea, the waves crashing against the jagged rocks below. I had come here searching for answers, driven by whispers and shadows, only to find myself ensnared in a web of fear and uncertainty. The air was thick with tension, and the quiet promise of the truth tinged the atmosphere with dread. With every pulse of the dagger's cool metal against my palm, I felt the weight of choices pressing down on me. Would I confront what lay beneath the surface? Did I even have a choice? I took a deep breath and stepped away from the edge, the lantern swinging in my hand. Finding that figure, the one I had seen before, felt like an impossible task. But in that moment, I had no other option. The illusion of safety faded. I had to press forward. The sea roared behind me, echoing the unspeakable secrets buried within its depths. With each step deeper along the path, I could feel the pulse of the dagger syncing with the rhythm of my heartbeat. It felt almost reassuring, as if it connected me to something greater than myself. I navigated the winding path carved into the rock, the lantern casting long shadows that seemed to flicker and dance unpredictably. Whispers floated through the air again, louder and clearer, mingling with wind and waves. Find him. You must find him. The urgency of the voices propelled me until I surfaced at a new clearing, a rocky outcrop that overlooked the turbulent sea, the ground littered with remnants of what might have been a long-abandoned settlement. As I took it all in, I spotted the faint outline of yet another figure, standing at the liminal edge between land and water, gazing into the dark expanse. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice scrambling against the wind. The figure turned slowly, almost as if it had been waiting for me. It was a woman, her features obscured by shadow, but there was an undeniable familiarity in her stance. "You seek answers, Clara?" My heart quickened. "How do you know my name?" "Because you have ventured where few dare tread," she replied, her voice soft yet compelling. "The truths you seek are entwined with the darkness of this island. You cannot undo what has been done, but you can decide how it will end." "What do you mean?" My voice trembled as I took a step closer, the dagger clutched tightly. "What is this darkness?" She looked past me, toward the tumultuous sea. "This island holds many lost souls, sailors who remained here long after the sun had set on their dreams. Some seek to awaken what lies beneath, others to bind themselves to the land. You have the power to break their hold." The ocean surged, as if echoing her words, and the weight of the choice crashed over me like a wave. Do I confront the darkness, possibly losing myself in the process, or do I flee this cursed land, leaving the whispers to echo forever? Time is slipping, Clara. The moment draws near. Choose wisely, she urged, fading slowly into the cover of mist. A flicker of doubt created a rift in my resolve, but I couldn't turn back now. I wasn't just here for answers. I was here to confront whatever haunted the island. I glanced back at the dagger in my hand, its cold blade reflecting the lantern's warm glow. With a roar, the sea surged higher, and the ground trembled with an alarming ferocity. A sudden gust of wind knocked me off balance, and shadows draped over me as I swayed. "What do you want?" I shouted into the chaos. But there was no answer, only the crashing waves and the mounting rumble of discontent beneath the surface. I felt an unseen tension build, as if time itself were growing thin, and then I saw him, a fleeting shape darting beneath the waves, dark and haunting. Was this the figure I had longed to find? My heart raced, both terrified and compelled. I could no longer delay, the choice was clear. I gripped the dagger tightly, fueled by determination. I stood at the edge, teetering between fear and courage, uncertain of the outcome. "I will find you," I called out to the shadow in the water, and with that I jumped. The water enveloped me in an icy embrace, the depths grasping me, pulling me below. As I descended into the churning darkness, my final thoughts were scattered, questions and fears none but the waves could answer. I could feel the currents swirling around, fierce and uncaring, but I pushed through, weaving toward the soft glow in the distance that flickered like a beacon. Would I emerge transformed, knowing the truth of what I had awakened, or would I become just another whisper in the tale of lost souls? I felt the darkness closing in, but I chose to face whatever truths awaited me, deep below the waves. And somewhere, amidst the chaos, the whispers faded to silence. All that remained was the water swirling around me, an echoing reminder of the secrets yet to be revealed, their nature lingering somewhere between the natural and the inexplicable. The island had marked me, but it would not take me without a fight. I would confront whatever awaited in those depths, and as I plunged deeper, the answers began to shimmer just out of reach, promising discovery yet shrouded in uncertainty.